Chief Dan Langloss initiated a meeting with Lee County State's Attorney Henry Dixon and his staff. And also at the meeting included Commissioner Considine, City Attorney Bob Branson, and myself. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss possible charges against Rita Crundwell. So this is the result of that meeting today. Henry?
Thanks, Jim. As Jim indicated, Rita Dixon, I'm the Lee County State's Attorney. This morning, the Lee County Grand Jury met, considered the case of People versus Rita Crundwell, deliberated and returned an indictment against Ms. Crundwell for theft. The indictment contains 60 counts, excuse me. Let me describe how we came to that and what it entails. First of all, under a particular section of the Criminal Theft Act, it provides for theft of government monies in excess of $60,000, being a Class X felony. After the meeting that Mayor Burke discussed moments ago, Peter Bew, my chief of the felony section of my office, and I met with the U.S. Attorney for the Western Division and his staff, and there had been ongoing meetings. I hope you all understand that there is a dual jurisdictional issue. Federal crimes have been committed allegedly. State crimes have allegedly been committed. And so the similar facts have an overlap of the jurisdictional issue. As a result, I had to work closely with the United States Attorney's Office so that we could focus on a particular set of facts. That's as follows. They authorized me, to proceed in state court for any and all alleged thefts occurring between January 1, 2010 and the date of arrest, April 17, 2012. That's what the grand jury studied. The evidence was presented in the person of Lieutenant Tim Morgan, and I'll get into that in a moment. And today the grand jury returned a 60-count indictment. 60 counts because between those 2 days, there were 60 transfers from the City of Dixon capital development account to Rita Crundwell's own account, which is called the Reserve Sewer Capital Development Fund, RSCDA. At the conclusion of this proceeding, I have copies of the indictment, which will be available for members of the news media. There are a number of people here from the news media. There are a number of people who are not. I would ask those who are not to allow the news media to get them, and I can see that you get copies if you like. You will find them as a matter of public viewing with the city clerk's office. Would you have any objection to sit down for just a moment?
Not one bit.
Thank you.
The seat is yours. Back to you.
I can tell you that the Illinois Supreme Court, and as well as the American Bar Association, have rules of professional conduct. And as much as it is within my power, we will comply with those rules of professional conduct, which means I am somewhat limited as to what I can say. Not only myself, but also any of the police officers who are working with me in the investigation. We don't mean to be rude. We don't mean to be secretive. But as the state's attorney, I represent the interests of all persons, and that includes defendants, and that's been held by not only the Illinois Supreme Court, but by the United States Supreme Court in cases going back to the 1930s. So a prosecutor has that obligation to everyone, including the defendants, and I will try to maintain that. I can tell you about the investigation. In my discussions with the U.S. Attorney's Office, they advised me, and we understood, that they could not provide us with a great deal of the information because any information acquired by a federal grand jury is not discoverable by another prosecutor. So, being another prosecutor, I was not entitled to that. We learned from certain news media, and I would say the Dixon Telegraph was a source of some of my information, that where certain accounts were held, and as a result of our subpoenas to the city of Dixon and to the Fifth Third Bank, we were able to locate a lot of information that was critical to getting where we're at right now. There were certainly over 1,000, probably several thousand, no, 2,000 pieces of information on different sheets. And that all had to be analyzed, and fortunately, Lieutenant Morgan was assigned to this case, and he has a background in that area. And he did all of the compiling of the data that we received and the analysis that he gave us. Why is the Sterling Police Department involved? Simple. I determined that there are too many people around Dixon that have some conspiracy theory, and if I simply said to the Dixon Police Department, and I admire and respect the Dixon Police Department wholeheartedly, but if I said, you guys do it and let me know what happens, then surely someone out there who writes crabby letters to the newspaper complaining of some conspiracy, some cover-up, that sort of thing, will create suspicion on what absolutely cannot be below board. And so Sterling Police Department stepped up. They, along with the Dixon Police Department, have a major case SWAT compact, an agreement between agencies, which also includes the Illinois State Police, that when one agency is unable to do an investigation, or the investigation requires more than one agency, they'll all step up and work together. And it's worked well in the past on other cases, and consequently, I had no problem with going to Chief Ron Podor over at Sterling, and he was most gracious. I had the opportunity then to visit with he and Lieutenant Tim Morgan, and Lieutenant Morgan agreed to undertake this action. It's taken a long time, but when you think about it, the time, considering what had to be done, is relatively short. People are entitled to prompt criminal action when it's appropriate, and any person charged with a crime is entitled to have their case brought so they can be heard. I think that's about all I want to discuss now. I did tell you that I'll have here for distribution, preferably to members of the news media, a copy of the indictment that was entered today. Anything else you want to say, Mr. Mayor, at this point?
Take any questions that anybody's got.